The person pulling up in the BMW might have $47 in their checking account. That designer bag your coworker just bought, it costs more than her entire emergency fund. The guy at the bar bragging about his investment portfolio has more credit card debt than actual investments. And the influencer showing off their luxury lifestyle is 3 months behind on rent. A recent study found that nearly half of Americans with credit cards carry a balance month to month. Yet somehow, luxury car sales keep climbing. Designer brand revenue keeps growing. The disconnect between what people actually have and what they're willing to spend has never been wider. Welcome to the era of fake rich. Americans now owe $1.28 trillion in credit card debt. The average household carries over $100,000 in total debt. Yet somehow, the parking lots are full of luxury vehicles, the malls are packed with designer shopping bags, and social media overflows with people flaunting wealth they don't actually have. Something doesn't add up. Here's what's really happening. A massive number of people have figured out how to look wealthy while being financially broke. They've mastered the appearance of success while building nothing underneath. They project an image that crumbles the moment you look closer. Real wealth whispers. Fake wealth screams. Once you know the signs, you'll see fake rich everywhere. More importantly, you'll avoid becoming fake rich yourself, because these patterns don't just look foolish, they actively destroy your ability to build actual wealth. Let's break down the 10 signs someone is pretending to be rich. The first sign is the entry-level luxury trap. Someone buys the cheapest version of the most expensive brand. The base model BMW, the logo belt from Gucci, the starter bag from Louis Vuitton. They want the badge without the budget. Walk through any parking lot and you'll spot this immediately. A bare-bones Mercedes with manual seats and no navigation. An Audi with the smallest engine option and 0 upgrades. These cars exist because manufacturers know exactly what's happening. People want the emblem on the hood more than they want the actual driving experience. Here's what's interesting. A fully loaded Honda Accord costs roughly the same as a base model luxury sedan. The Honda has better features, more comfortable interior, superior reliability, and lower maintenance costs. But the person chasing status doesn't want a Honda. They want other people to see the 3-pointed star or the 4 rings. And it doesn't stop at the purchase price. That entry-level luxury car comes with luxury maintenance costs, premium gas instead of regular, higher insurance premiums, more expensive parts when something breaks. The base model Mercedes costs significantly more to own than the fully loaded Toyota, not just up front, but every single month for years. The math gets brutal. Someone pretending to be rich might spend 20 to 30% of their income on looking wealthy. Someone actually wealthy spends 2 to 5% on these same categories. That difference compounds over decades into hundreds of thousands of dollars that never get invested. Truly wealthy people often buy their flashy items after they've built substantial wealth. The fake rich buy the status symbol first and hope wealth follows. It rarely does. The second sign is constant money talk. The person who won't stop steering conversations toward income, investments, spending, or deals they're working on. Every topic somehow circles back to finances, and always in a way that makes them look successful. You could be discussing pizza toppings, and this person finds an angle. Oh yeah, I used to eat that before I started making real money. You mention a vacation, and suddenly they're explaining their travel rewards strategy that only works because of how much they spend. You share news about a friend's success, and they pivot to their own achievements within 2 sentences. People genuinely secure about their financial situation don't need to constantly remind everyone how well they're doing. The reminder is for themselves, not you. It's external validation, filling an internal void. Watch for a specific pattern, talking about money they're about to make rather than money they've actually made. I've got a huge deal closing next month. Once this investment pays off, everything changes. I'm working on something that's going to be massive. Always future tense because the present doesn't match the image. The money isn't real until it hits your bank account. Deals fall through. Investments go sideways. Opportunities evaporate. But the fake rich talk about projected income as if it's already deposited because the reality isn't impressive enough. Another tell is confusing revenue with profit. Someone brags about their business doing $500,000 when their actual take-home was $50,000. Still decent money, but not the flex they're presenting. The exaggeration reveals the insecurity. The truly wealthy tend to be private about finances, not because they're secretive, but because they don't need to prove anything to anyone. The third sign might be the most alarming. The designer item that costs more than what's in the bank account. Someone carrying a $5,000 bag with $2,000 in savings. A luxury watch on the wrist of someone with a maxed out credit card. This happens constantly. The purchase isn't a celebration of success. It's a costume for success that hasn't arrived. There's an old rule. If you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't actually afford it. If a single purchase represents 2 or 3 months of income, that's not wealth. That's living dangerously above your means while creating the illusion of prosperity. Think about what that bag actually represents. Not accomplishment, not smart financial decisions, just a willingness to sacrifice future security for present appearance. The bag might impress strangers for 3 seconds. The empty savings account creates stress for years. I've seen people finance designer purchases, paying interest on a handbag, making monthly payments on a watch. The item depreciates while the debt accumulates. By the time it's paid off, they've spent 30% more than the sticker price on something worth half what they originally paid. People with actual wealth rarely make purchases that jeopardize their financial foundation. Their luxury items represent a tiny fraction of their net worth, not a significant chunk of their monthly budget. The fourth sign is the constant one-upper. Whatever you've done, they've done something better. Whatever you bought, they bought something more expensive. Whatever you accomplished, their version was more impressive. You get a promotion, they got a bigger one. You went on a nice vacation. They spent 2 weeks in the south of France flying business class. You bought a new watch. They explain why theirs has a superior mechanical movement, and you can hear the difference in how the seconds hand ticks. Picture this at a dinner party. Someone shares that they just closed on their first home. Before anyone can congratulate them, the one-upper jumps in. That's great, but you really should have waited for a bigger place. When I bought my first property, I made sure it was at least 4 bedrooms because anything smaller doesn't appreciate as well. The excitement drains from the room. The person who just achieved something meaningful now feels small. Or at work, you land a new client and mention it in passing. The one-upper immediately pivots to the bigger client they landed last quarter, the commission they made, the dinner the CEO bought them to celebrate. Your win disappears into their need to dominate. This isn't normal conversation. It's competition. Every interaction becomes a contest where they must win. The psychology here is transparent. One-upping comes from insecurity, not confidence. Someone genuinely successful can celebrate your wins without feeling threatened. They don't need to redirect attention because their self-worth doesn't depend on being superior in every exchange. People pretending to be rich feel threatened by any success that isn't theirs. Your good news diminishes them somehow, so they reflexively minimize your achievement while amplifying their own. Real wealth allows someone to be genuinely happy for others. Fake wealth requires constant comparison and conquest. The fifth sign is social media performance. The curated feed of luxury experiences, expensive purchases, and lifestyle content designed to project wealth, whether or not that wealth exists. If someone's money is real, they don't need to document every moment for strangers on the internet. But for the fake rich, wealth only exists when validated by likes and comments. The experience isn't complete until it's posted. The purchase isn't satisfying until others have seen it. Here's the uncomfortable truth about social media. Showing off gets more engagement than showing discipline. A spend $1,000 at the mall with me video outperforms watch me add $1,000 to my emergency fund. The first feels aspirational. The second feels boring. This creates a perverse incentive. People learn that projecting wealth generates attention, regardless of whether the wealth is real. So they perform prosperity while building nothing. Nobody posts themselves doing dishes. Nobody films their budget spreadsheet sessions. Nobody shares the 16 hours they spent at home on Saturday because they're saving money. Social media shows highlights, not reality. But the fake rich need you to believe the highlights are their everyday existence. Watch for fake engagement, too. Some profiles have millions of followers, but comment sections full of bot accounts saying the same generic phrases. They're buying the appearance of influence to support the appearance of wealth. Layers of fabrication stacked on each other. Meanwhile, actual wealthy people often maintain minimal social media presence. They don't need the validation, and they certainly don't need strangers knowing their financial business. The sixth sign is leasing luxury cars. This deserves its own category because it's become so normalized that people don't recognize it as a red flag. When you lease a vehicle, you're paying for the steepest depreciation years, the most expensive period of a car's life, and then giving the car back. The dealer estimates what the vehicle will be worth at lease end, and you pay the difference between purchase price and that residual value, plus interest, taxes, and fees. A $50,000 car worth $30,000 after 3 years means you're essentially financing $20,000 of depreciation plus interest. Then you return it and start over with a new lease, paying those fees and that depreciation all over again on a fresh vehicle. This cycle never ends. Lease, return, perpetual payments with zero equity ever. Someone who leases continuously for 20 years has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments and owns absolutely nothing at the end. Leasing is one of the most expensive ways to have a car over a lifetime, but it lets people afford the monthly payment on vehicles they couldn't actually purchase. That's the entire appeal. The person driving the leased luxury sedan looks successful. The payment fits their monthly budget. What doesn't show is that they're building zero equity, paying premium insurance rates, and locking themselves into perpetual payments with nothing to show at the end. If you genuinely want a luxury vehicle for reasons beyond status, buying used makes far more sense financially. But buying used doesn't provide the new car smell and the pristine badge that fake rich requires. The seventh sign is counterfeit goods. If someone is carrying fake designer items, they're literally advertising that they're pretending to be something they're not. People who actually know luxury goods can spot counterfeits across the room. The stitching is wrong. The leather quality differs. The logo placement is slightly off. The hardware feels cheap. Everything about it screams imitation to anyone paying attention. Here's the irony. Counterfeit goods aren't even that cheap. A decent knockoff bag might cost $200 or $300. For that same money, you could buy a genuinely well-made bag from a brand that isn't pretending to be something else. Real leather, quality construction, original design, just without the famous logo. But that's not what the fake rich want. They don't actually care about quality or craftsmanship. They care about the perception that comes with the logo. So they'll pay $200 for a poorly made fake rather than $200 for a well-made original, because the fake carries a name people recognize. Some people claim they just like the design and aren't trying to fool anyone. But if that were true, why choose a knockoff of a specific brand? Why not buy something original and well-made from a company you can actually afford? The brand choice reveals the motivation. It's about the logo, not the design. Counterfeits deliver neither status nor quality. The people you're trying to impress can tell it's fake, and the item itself is poorly constructed. You've paid money to carry around evidence of your own pretense. The eighth sign is constantly promoting get-rich-quick opportunities. Not the obvious scams. Those are easy to spot. The slightly faster than normal schemes that sound almost plausible. Forex trading, drop shipping, crypto day trading, option strategies, multi-level marketing, infinite banking, some revolutionary system that's going to change everything if you just get in now. A tiny fraction of people succeed at these activities. The vast majority lose money. But the fake rich love talking about these opportunities because they operate in future tense. They're not discussing what they've built, they're discussing what they're about to build. The potential justifies the current lack of actual results. Here's how it usually plays out. Someone discovers a new opportunity and goes all in. They talk about it constantly, try to recruit friends, project massive confidence. 6 months later, they've lost money, but they never mention that part. Instead, they've already moved on to the next opportunity. Equally confident, equally vocal. The pattern repeats every year or two. A trail of failed ventures they never acknowledge, always chasing the next thing that's definitely going to work this time. Admitting failure would shatter the identity they've constructed, so they just keep moving forward, hoping the next opportunity finally delivers the results they've been promising everyone, including themselves. Real wealth is built slowly and boringly, over years or decades. It rarely comes from turning 5,000 into $1 million in 12 months. But slow and boring doesn't match the fake rich identity. They need something dramatic happening, even if that something only exists in their projections. When someone can't stop talking about their next big opportunity, their current opportunity probably isn't delivering what they claim. The ninth sign is condescending money advice. Different from one-upping, this person actively criticizes your financial decisions and tells you what you should be doing instead. You mention you're happy with your apartment. They say you should have upgraded by now given your income. You're driving a reliable used car. They question why you haven't financed something newer. You're saving aggressively. They tell you that money should be invested in whatever they're invested in. The advice is always unsolicited, and it always points toward whatever choices they've made, regardless of whether those choices make sense for your situation. Here's what's actually happening. They need to justify their own decisions. If you're succeeding with a different approach, it threatens their narrative, so they criticize your path to validate theirs. Your financial situation differs from everyone else's. Your goals differ. Your risk tolerance differs. Your timeline differs. Someone who genuinely understands money knows that different strategies work for different people. The fake rich need everyone to validate their choices because deep down, they're not confident those choices were right. Someone genuinely wealthy can acknowledge that different strategies work for different people. They don't need you to make the same choices to feel good about their own. The fake rich need everyone around them to confirm they're doing things correctly because deep down, they're not sure. The 10th and final sign is simply overdoing it. Too many logos, too much jewelry, too strong cologne, a walking advertisement for luxury brands rather than a person who happens to own some nice things. They've seen wealthy people in movies and decided to cosplay that aesthetic. Everything screams money. Nothing whispers it. Here's something worth noting. Look at photos of actual billionaires on ordinary days, not at galas or press events, but just living their lives. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt constantly. Warren Buffett drives a modest car and lives in the same house he bought decades ago. Many of the wealthiest people you'd pass on the street without a second glance. They have nothing to prove. Their identity isn't tied to what strangers think of their appearance. They could buy anything, so they don't feel the need to buy everything. The fake rich operate from the opposite psychology. They feel they have everything to prove. So every item becomes a statement. Every accessory becomes evidence. The louder the display, the more desperate the attempt. The wealthiest people in most rooms dress normally. Maybe one or two quality items, but nothing designed to broadcast status. They don't need to prove anything to strangers. Their confidence doesn't require external validation through appearance. When every single item someone wears is designed to signal wealth, that signal becomes noise. It reads as desperate rather than successful. The effort shows. Actual wealth tends to be understated because it doesn't need to try. Real wealth isn't about what you show. It's about what you've built. The freedom to make choices without financial pressure. The security of knowing you can handle emergencies. The compound growth happening quietly in accounts nobody else sees. Fake wealth is a performance that gets more expensive over time. The luxury car needs maintaining. The designer wardrobe needs updating. The lifestyle needs sustaining. Every month, more money flows toward maintaining an image, while nothing flows toward building substance. The person pretending to be rich often ends up poorer than they started. The effort of appearing wealthy prevents the accumulation of actual wealth. They're running on a treadmill that speeds up the longer they stay on it, working harder and harder just to maintain an illusion that delivers nothing real. Here's what separates real from fake at the deepest level. The fake rich optimize for how things look to others. Every financial decision passes through a filter of external perception. Will this impress people? Will this signal status? Will this make me appear successful? The actually wealthy optimize for how things work for themselves. Does this purchase make sense given my goals? Does this decision move me toward financial freedom? Does this choice align with what I actually value, not what I want others to think I value? One approach builds wealth, the other bleeds it. The next time you see someone projecting prosperity, look closer. The base model luxury car, the constant money talk, the social media performance, the one-upping and condescension, the designer items that might cost more than their savings account. Fake rich is everywhere once you know what to look for. More importantly, check yourself. Are you making financial decisions based on what genuinely serves your future? Or are you spending to maintain an image that's slowly bankrupting you? Real wealth whispers. It doesn't need anyone to notice. It doesn't require validation. It exists whether or not anyone else sees it. The goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to actually be rich. One path is expensive, exhausting, and leads nowhere. The other builds quietly until one day you realize you have options most people only pretend to have. Choose carefully.